what to do after Carnival.
Okay.
Your bank account gone flat, and you say to yourself, well, I need to do things now to really be more conscious of my finances.
Yeah.
Once you spent all your money and gone fete and drink down the place, and how do you now recoup yourself and be more prepared next time or just in general? What's up, y'all? It's your boy DJ Busby.
And it's your boy JKD.
From the time you hear the voices, you know it's only up from here. It's the Up From Here podcast.
Yes, sir.
We're back with a special one. Thank you to each and everybody that watched last week, the Trinidad Carnival special.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of amazing feedback. A lot of people tuned in and listened to that one.
Yeah.
And so many like posts, reposts, messages. One special one I can't even fully talk about. But I got communication from Bungie. Not direct.
Right, yeah.
Communication from Bungie showing appreciation for me giving him his flowers for that.
Wicked.
I think
Wicked, man.
that same there was a Bungie, he sent a voice note through a friend to say, that guy in the cowboy hat, I don't know him, but tell him thank you. And it was a heartfelt message, so I appreciated that, and it goes to show doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But we got a whole new one for you today, a very interesting one, and I really want you guys to understand it's not just for Trinidad Carnival, but anything expense related when it comes to these festivities that we like to do in our soca culture. But before we get there, how you been?
Good, man. Good, man. Can't complain.
Can't complain.
Same daily grind, family life.
Mm-hmm.
JKD living, man.
Nice. And graphics?
Graphics is booming. Since our last episode, it's going even up.
And as I talk about responses to the last week's episode,
yes,
I saw a good one.
Okay.
And it was JKD. They reposted your video talking about, I got this client of status, a big person in our industry.
Yeah.
And big up DJ Maul. He reposted the video and said, "Yo, don't let me come to Toronto and JKD talking about he broke it up." Fact. I don't want to. When we go for wings, when we go for that beer, I don't want to hear nothing about I'm broke. Nah, but jokes aside, that's dope, man.
Yeah,
and
man.
you're getting more clients.
Well, that same client is actually giving me more work. So
man.
we still
can't release it.
No.
Oh, come on.
We can't,
when the artward comes out,
yes, when the artwork comes out,
got it,
for sure.
Because you know how that goes.
Yes.
Dope. And when you guys hear who it is, you're gonna be like, whoa. So big kudos and respect to Think Elephant Inc.
Yes, sir.
Everybody that needs graphic design work, hit them up.
Yes, sir.
Now, today's podcast, as I said, is a very interesting one, a very special one that I came up with on the fly because our guest didn't show up today. So you have to work, you have to pivot. But I think it's a very interesting topic that everybody needs to pay attention to that goes out to these events. Now, just like everything else, the prices have gone up.
Yeah.
You guys have made this a part of your culture, your lifestyle. You may do 1-2+ trips a year. Or just feting in your hometown could get expensive depending on how many you go to.
Right.
So what I want this episode to revolve around, and probably will be the title of the show, will be what to do after Carnival.
Okay.
Once you spent all your money and gone fete and drink down the place, and how do you now recoup yourself and be more prepared next time, or just in general as, a person with financial obligations and stuff.
Right.
So I think that's a good lane we can go and touch on, especially being that it's now post-Carnival, and a lot of people are looking at their bank accounts like, wait, well, boy, Papa. So let's talk about it.
Yes, sir.
Now, being somebody that you yourself, before we even got into the real business aspect of going international, we've gone to a few places.
Yes, we have.
So I'm sure you felt that strain.
Yes.
A lie?
Yes.
Which is, I've gone to a carnival, spent all this money, come back, and now it's time where I got to be more responsible.
Right.
What are some tips off the top of your head from your experience that you can give for people to start saving money?
I think one tip starts before you even go away. To be honest, the number one thing I can think of right now is to prioritize. Like you obviously, what events you're gonna go to.
Yeah.
You kind of can gauge how much money you're going to spend, let's just say, on food, on liquor. start saving from a year before you go. You know what I'm saying? Because you know already when you're going.
Yeah.
So it starts even well before you hop on that plane and go to that destination.
Because you know when you're there and in the mode, and you might be with Jakey buying down this bar and Jakey bringing 10 drinks to the table. I say, wait, we went Punta Cana last year. This man wanted to bring back about 10 drinks, you know. I said, Jakey, we haven't even got on the cruise ship yet. Just chill. But that's what happens. You're in the heat of the moment. You're just spending, not thinking until you get back home.
Right.
So that's a very good point.
I'll give a prime example. I went on a cruise from my first time ever going on a cruise, and there's this thing that they give you, which is like your ID card. This is your card for the whole cruise.
Yeah.
Once we got to the desk and the lady gave it to us, she's just like, this is what you use to, if you want drinks or whatever, just remember you have to pay for all the expenses at the end. Me and my brother would just swipe. Yeah. You want a drink? Swipe. You want a drink? Swipe. At the end of the cruise, we probably owe like maybe 8 bills each.
And that's a whole next flight somewhere else.
Right. So you got to be responsible. Facts. That's one thing too. You got to be responsible. Know your limit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially if you have responsibilities at home. Like if you know you have bills, you know you have a car note that you have to pay, like be responsible.
You must go back home. Go home. Facts. Yeah. Bro, when you get back, you got to think about those things. You might have mouths to feed.
Right.
Something may come up that will require your attention now. You can't be in the negative in your bank account.
Right.
And these are from experience. Right. Like these are things from experience. This is not just us speaking from a place of privilege.
Right.
Because some people might look at this not knowing our foundation and say, oh, well, Buzz, you're getting in free to all these.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that.
Right.
Until today, there's stuff I still pay to get into.
Yeah.
But even with that, I know, okay, I'm getting in X said party for free.
Right.
Now my drinking spending might be a little higher.
Right.
So I'm not, like, even though I may not have spent to the door, I will now spend a little more at the bar. So either way, the money's coming out of your account.
Right.
So definitely planning ahead, extremely important.
Right.
Extremely important.
But there's also those who just use credit card and they just say, they worry about it when they get back home and they just pay it. What do you think about that?
If you are responsible enough, I think it's okay because in general it will just help build your credit and whatnot. Right. I've never been one to be in debt.
Okay.
And anytime I can get out of debt, the better.
Right.
And that includes credit cards. But I understand the math and the game behind, paying for things with your credit card and then being able to pay it off right away.
Right.
And that helping your credit score. So when you're going for things like a house, a car, etc., that's in your benefit.
Right.
Right. So you have to have that responsibility to say, okay, yes, I'm spending, but I'll spend to a certain limit. And then as soon as I get back home from that vacation, as hard as it is, go on whatever.com, pay it off.
Right.
And then stop thinking about it and just get your rest from that vacation. Right. That's my 2 cents. But with you now, I know, like, we've spoke privately, and I've said you said this story on the podcast a couple times before. What's your first experience with the credit card, especially at a young age? And this is important.
And that happened in college. This happened in college.
In college, right? And sorry, right before you get to that point, just something quick.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Busby and JKD are the 2 drunk guys you see at events. Okay? We are by no means financial advisors. Yes. We're sharing our experiences so it can help you. That's what the point of the Up From Here podcast is.
So you don't blame us at the end.
Exactly. So now, JKD, back to you.
With that story, back in college.
Yeah.
You're just walking, you're fresh in college,
Freshman.
There's a table with 2 people at it, and they're from a credit card company. Say, hey, listen, we can offer you $500 on a credit card. And I'm like, I went there. I'm like, for free? They're like, yeah. For free. I'm like, sure,
for free.
Took that credit card, just maxed it out.
Oh god.
Didn't know anything about credit at all. At all. I didn't know that I had to pay it before a certain time. I didn't know interest. I didn't know nothing about a credit card.
Wow.
So with that being said, did I go to the collection? Yes, I did, because I didn't have a job then.
Yeah.
So
But it's important because yes, there's these people at the tent with $500,000 for free, big and bold on the front. But you don't understand the repercussions that come with it.
Absolutely.
The credit card thing is a serious thing to come out of.
Yeah, that's one thing I wish they taught in high school too.
Yeah.
Because I think they did teach it, but they didn't really push it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. And to me, it should be a mandatory part of your curriculum.
Yes, absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
And one thing I heard, well, first of all, to Earn Your Leisure guys, I think that's one of their focuses now.
Yeah.
Is changing the actual curriculum for a certain demographic of schooling.
Yeah.
To make it mandatory that financial literacy is met.
Okay.
But when we really look at it, right, when we're talking financial literacy or just financial responsibility, in terms of that, right, that's more of a mental game.
Yeah.
Whereas, let's say something like football or basketball is something that you need a lot of power and energy and, built up practice to be able to go through, right? And in hindsight, something like that is a lot more endurance that you have to go through in order to be that position as opposed to being financially responsible.
Right.
Meanwhile, I think it was Ian Dunlap that said this, big up Ian Dunlap. He was saying, why are our kids taught from such an early age how to bounce a ball and how to start shooting it in the net and how to throw a football at such a young age?
Right.
And grow hoping to be an NBA or football player, which the chances are very low. Why not have the same thought process for finances?
Yeah.
Teaching them from a very young age.
Yeah.
If you have these 2 coins and you give one of them to little Johnny, something as simple, just to ease them into the conversation.
Yeah.
It's important.
That's something that I think our generation and maybe the generation before us could start implementing into our kids. Because I personally don't think, like my mom didn't probably know about all that stuff back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to feel like a lot of more people are actually getting into financial literacy, because they see a pattern that they don't want to follow. Like a pattern from their parents that they want to follow.
Exactly, and we, especially either as parents or just as people in general, being aware of the times we're in, it's important to understand the times back then, comparatively. There isn't really a comparison.
Yeah.
Yes, it was harder maybe to get work in that time.
Right.
Harder because the minimum wage was a lot lower, but things were drastically less expensive.
Yeah.
You look now, the amount it costs you to get a house or whatnot compared to back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like 10 times the capital you need just to get the same property that you would have needed or wanted to get 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Right.
So it's a lot more of an uphill battle, which is why being financially responsible is very important.
Yes.
But nobody's saying don't have your fun.
Right.
We have one life to live. There's no sense just staying in, doing the graveyard shifts and stacking up. Because if you have all that money, what's the point?
Right. Yeah.
Right? And being financially responsible is important, but I think you could do both.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree. I think it should be in the curriculum for students.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something everybody should push for.
Yeah.
And understand too, depending on where we are in the world, it's been like a century and this curriculum hasn't really changed that much.
Yeah.
As a responsible adult, you need to be the one that figures that out and understands that. So even if school's not teaching it, you at least do the due diligence of teaching your child what it is.
Even to talk on that, going back to teaching our kids in school and stuff. I won't get too in depth in this, but I do feel like it's systemic too. Yeah. There's certain powers to be that they don't want us to know that information. Yeah. Right. And that's just how the world is right now. So.
Yeah. Like they say, they have conspiracies about it, but the way school is programmed, if you really look at it, again, in hindsight, it looks a lot like they're programming you for a position of being a clerk or an admin or something along those lines. Yeah. They are programming you to basically shut up, listen, and do.
And again, they're more streamlining kids nowadays to be basketball players. Something to do with sports, whatever. Instead of streamlining kids to be scientists or mathematics or doing something of of value, like something. I'm not saying those things are not value, but something of stature. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And something I was thinking about the other day too, and it's something important that I think everybody should understand, especially if you're in a position of wanting to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where you got to think, okay, if I just came out and said, okay, forget school, I want to be an entrepreneur, I, as an entrepreneur, might have a lot less grace or relatability to somebody who's working for me that might also have a 9-to-5 job, right? And I appreciate that, yes, I did spend over a decade working in a 9-to-5 position to know what that feels like.
Yeah.
So it's not like I did it for 6 months and I could fully relate to any. Over a decade is a considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
So anybody that would be working for me in my company, I could at least sit back and be like, okay, I would understand why they're tired, or I could understand why they may not have as much time for other things.
Right.
Where if I was in I wouldn't say privileged, but if I was in a different position, I might not understand and be like, well, why can't they get this done? Why can't they do this? Why this? Why that?
Yeah.
So going through the motions yourself is also key as somebody of being a leader.
Yeah.
You got to understand what your people are going through and have grace where that's concerned.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? And now, again, like, those were amazing points for before, even during thinking about, but what about the after effects now? Carnival's done, your bank account gone flat, and you say to yourself, well, I need to do things now to really be more conscious of my finances.
Yeah.
What are some other things you would put into practice or think about?
Again, it all comes down to prioritizing.
Yeah.
Pick and choose the events that you want to go to. Like, you don't always have to go out. I remember seeing one girl, and she was going to every fete. I'm talking, she's young.
Yeah.
And she's going to every fete. And I actually pull her to her side in one fete, and I'm like, listen, you got to pick and choose, because you're working right now and all your money is going to these fetes. I'm not trying to take food out of people's mouths, but at the same time, you have a future to look forward to, especially if you're going to have family and stuff.
Right.
You got to think about that too.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. You have to be more conscious and just make sure you're in a financial place where if something were to happen, you know, you're at least able to be on your 2 feet.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So with that said, I think it's important, you know, even if you're not in a place where you have any sort of financial responsibility, right? You're just maybe in a place where that carnival is my thing.
Yeah.
And all I'm doing is saving for the next.
Right.
Well, like what I just mentioned, it's always good to put aside for a rainy day.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like a lot of people, as I've been studying the field of financing, a lot of people say 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Have 3 to 6 months of finances set aside where if something were to happen,
right,
you lose your jobs, the death in the family, whatever the case, that money is there, so you're not panicking when it's that time.
Yeah.
Right? So start thinking about building that. Right? As you grow and as you go to all these parties, keep that in mind and say, okay, maybe instead of buying 10 drinks, I might buy 4 this time.
Right.
And still have my good time.
Right.
So just the money set aside for the rainy day.
Yep.
Something that's also important to think about is taxes.
Yep.
So we know tax season's coming up very fast. I think it's upon us, no?
Yes, it is.
So with that being said, what's the importance of doing your taxes?
Very important. Don't be like Jay Kinney.
It just sounds like you have
I'm not gonna go into it, but don't be like Jay Kinney. I'm good now though, but don't be like Jay Kinney.
Y'all scared of these gangsters and stuff. Wait till that tax mafia comes for you. You wait. Okay.
Yeah, it's very important. Especially if you have a business. No, like save those receipts, save those things that you bought, the assets that you bought. For your company or just in general, just save them because they do come in handy when it comes down to tax season.
Perfect. You know, and you want to reduce, like the point of taxes is you want to try your best to reduce the amount of money you have to pay back.
Yes.
If there's any at all. Sometimes you get money back.
Yeah.
Right? But you always want to make it where you're either breaking or in the positive or close to.
Right.
Because when tax time comes and you owe a big lump sum of money, that's also like one of those moments like, shoot, I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't expecting this.
Right. Yeah.
So tax season is very important.
Yeah.
And I think with that in the air, next week, hopefully, we should be able to get a guest in the finance field.
Yeah.
So then we could have an actual financial professional that could come here and give you guys practical advice.
Right.
Something else too, we've kind of touched on at the start when we first introduced this new podcast. We spoke about in the last iteration of the podcast, but that's investing.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a few years back, you and I started to really invest. I think you were doing that before me.
Yeah.
But you were more into the crypto space.
Yeah.
And when I got into it, I was more into investing in stocks.
Right.
So maybe share a little bit about that journey for you and what's the importance of investing.
For me, it's good. Again, crypto right now is up and down, so you lose some, you win some. But there's also investing in housing and real estate and all that stuff. Right. Like my house is an investment, right? That's my house. Has it gone up in value? Yeah, it has gone up in a lot of value. With the crypto stuff, yeah, it's iffy with some people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's some stuff that we still have, that me and my wife still have, that still hold value too. And it's kind of like a waiting game right now. Yeah. But we did took some hits, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Took some hits. But that's the game.
Exactly. So, and that's pretty much the correct word. It depends how your risk tolerance and the amount that you study in the field.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a high risk tolerance and you study a lot, your chances of 10xing or whatever xing your money is possible.
Yeah. Right.
Right? But you need to understand that it's a game, more or less, and it fluctuates.
Yeah.
And there are certain pockets of investing that's more stable than others.
Right.
So right now, crypto is very volatile,
right.
which means one day it could be sky high, the next day
right.
down to the ground.
Right.
But stuff like stocks, there's actually historical evidence of how stocks rise, right? And that's not to say one day that, I don't know, Apple all of a sudden is not the king of the world.
Right.
Right? But there's sure things that are more of a bet. Would you rather place your money on Golden State and LeBron,
right.
or would you place your money on the no-name team that's not really making any money right now,
right.
or having any wins?
Right.
So there's ways of looking at it, looking at the charts. You know, if they're in an upward trend, then that's a very likely thing that you investing your money in those positions would be a good thing, especially for long-term investing. Right? There's short-term investing where there's stuff like trading, which is not what I'm too much into because, again, that falls under the game category to me.
Yeah.
But long-term investing is about, you have your emergency fund set aside, but now you're going to be focusing on your investment funds, right? And investments is something to say, okay, I'm putting aside this money that's going into the stock market. And if you're doing long-term investing, you just kind of set it and forget it. And you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to leave it in there, monitor it over time.
Yeah.
So don't necessarily forget it, but monitor it over time. And sometimes people will get in the habit, especially as you're now starting investing, like, let me check this every day.
Yeah. Right.
It's similar to like you plant a seed in the garden.
Yeah.
You check it every single day right after the day you planted the seed.
Right.
You're probably not going to see anything.
Right.
And you may be panicking, like, is this thing even growing?
Right.
Give it some time, especially long term. Because history has proven to us that that's what's been going on.
Yeah.
Things are in an upward trajectory. So you kind of just set it there. You check every once in a while. You develop your own tolerance for how often you want to check. And me, for example, I started doing this in 2020, end of 2020.
Okay.
And when I did it is when it was COVID. So all stocks were in the red line. And that ideally is like the perfect time to buy stocks. Right. Because it's more or less like walking into your favorite store and everything on sale.
Right.
Right? And it may be expensive to buy that $1,000 jacket, but today it's $600.
Right.
But your mind works immediately in that way to say, okay, I'll buy the jacket because I've always wanted it.
Right.
But people don't normally think, okay, let me buy the stock now at this price because there's a better chance of it growing. Unless I switch to, okay, well, now that it's booming, now let me try and buy into the stocks.
Right.
A perfect example of that, if you've been watching any kind of news, is NVIDIA.
Right.
They have skyrocketed.
Right.
And if you have those stocks, be very thankful.
Right.
But again, you lose in one place. Like if you have investments in crypto, investments in stocks, you may lose in crypto, but now
your stocks are rising.
Right. So that in itself is something important to discuss when talking about investing. Right. Having a versatile portfolio, right? Invest in different things that you believe in, that you've studied, that will multiply your money. Right. Because that's what they say money is. Money is supposed to make you more money. Yeah. And that's how the whole game goes.
Yeah, and to be honest too, a lot of companies, like people who work 9 to 5s, they have investment mutual funds that they invest for you too. Yeah. So that's another way that you could just put your money into and just watch it grow, kind of thing. If you choose the right portfolio, just put your money there. They take the money for you and place it in there and let it grow.
Right. And to my knowledge, I don't know if you have any knowledge on this, but this is why we're having a professional come as soon as we can. Yeah. As it's the financial season. When it comes to your retirement funds that you get through your 9 to 5. Yeah. Even with mine, I know there's a retirement fund that's being built up as I'm working. Yeah. But it's correct to say that the company that you're with is basically trading those funds while they're
they're taking your money in.
So
yeah. So they're making money off of your money.
Exactly.
The money that they give you to work, they're taking that and making money off of that.
And investing your money while it's in a threshold or just sitting there.
Right.
So that is crazy.
Yep.
But people don't know these kind of things because it's in that little fine print and the big long thing you have to sign to.
It's the same with the banks. The banks take your money.
I was not going to say.
The banks take your money and they take your money and invest and get more money on top of that. Same thing.
Yep.
That's why these banks are still in business.
Yeah. And again, when you put your money in the bank, they make you sign away these papers.
Yeah.
And it's like the terms and conditions on the computer. Right. Who the hell is scrolling down 100,000 pages? Like I scroll to the bottom and okay, good to go. Right. And that's all in the fine print.
Yeah.
So these are things we've learned along the way that is important for you guys to keep in mind when it comes to now coming back from a carnival, now finishing a carnival week, wherever your home is. You may have a carnival week in your home and you spent a lot of money that you're not accustomed to. Yeah. These are responsible ways to try and build it back. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to say something too because I've been through this motion too. Like I feel like when I was fed in, I felt like I did need to go to certain events. And I don't want to say this today. Is like you don't always have to go to those certain events. You don't. You really don't. Because most of the time you're not missing anything at all. You know what I'm saying? Really, I'm speaking facts. Like sometimes you're not missing anything at all.
Yeah, and regardless of that, right? And this is something I found in Trinidad. Big up my cousin Leslie Ann and her friends. Something I got from them was like, yo, it really doesn't matter where we are.
Facts.
If it's us and we a team,
right?
It could be a hole in the wall party. Right. We're going there to have fun.
Right.
And that's what it was.
Right.
When I went to hang out with them when I had the layover going to St. Kitts, that party was like very weird.
Right.
But the corner that we were in and them, they were just the full energy and they ended up bringing up the life in the whole place.
Right.
So despite, I get that there's places you could go where you'd have some extravagant fun that's not the average event.
Right.
But the team you go with is a big thing too.
Yeah.
Like when we go out.
Yeah.
Sometimes the party's trash, but sometimes those may be the funniest nights that we've.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it depends on who you're with too. That's very important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Something else too, definitely to discuss, is a side hustle.
Yeah.
A lot of us have these 9 to 5s, but think about what that is. A 9 to 5.
Right.
Let's just say you travel home as an hour and a half. Well, you still have that 6:30 till midnight.
Yeah.
What are you doing with that? If you have a family, cut that in half. What are you doing with the other 3-4 hours?
Right.
Are you on Netflix?
Yeah.
Are you screwing around watching sports or something?
Right.
Or are you developing something that could bring you a secondary income?
Yeah.
And these days, especially with what the internet's enabled, there's a lot of avenues.
Absolutely.
Like for instance, you did it yourself. I remember when, first of all, even with graphic design.
Yeah.
But now you've built a company of substance where you could say, okay, this is making a substantial income on top of my 9 to 5.
Right.
But one thing I remember, like you were doing, especially you had that conversation with your wife,
Yeah.
and you guys would sell like cards and stuff.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
So that was just something on the side.
That was something on the side. Yeah.
So talk maybe a little bit about those type of things.
Yeah. Just we're just finding things that were, that are interests of us and trying to put it out to the world and see what we can make, what we can benefit from it. So like, example, she was really into, the Star Wars, I forgot what it's called, Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's think of things what we can do with that. Like, so I decided like, hey, let's create Mandalorian playing cards. So I designed them I'm a designer, so I designed them myself. When I'm Fiverr, got some man to design to draw the characters. All the characters probably cost maybe like, to do all the characters probably cost $100 to do that.
Wow.
And I sold them. I sold them for, let's just say, $5 a pack.
This man's a criminal, yeah.
No, I'm just thinking how they work money. You know what I'm saying?
They're all bootleg cards on the road. Some devastated children when they went to school. Look at my cards. What the?
No, they're actually of quality.
I'm playing.
They're actually of
It
quality.
must have been. All your work is. So.
Yeah. We bought the cards off in China, obviously. And then we marked them up for a good price, and they were selling, bro. They're actually pushing.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Like, find something you're passionate about, so it doesn't even feel like work.
Yeah.
Put it out, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Who knows?
There's a lot of people out there that are doubting themselves though. Like Tash, like my wife is one where I have to like actually push because she's good in so many things. One day she say, "Hey, I'm gonna make Jamaican patties." I'm like, "Okay, cool." She made them, bro. Nice. Yeah. I'm like, let's see how we can market this. And I was telling her, listen, like, let's do some test ones. Give some to Buzz, give some to my mom, and get the word out there because you can actually make money off of this. If I'm telling you it's good, look at me. If I'm telling you it's good, it's good. You know?
It must be because I don't see the patties yet. You know? If I'm now telling me this story, I don't see patties yet. You know, then I done off my patties. It's all right.
But I'm saying like to say that I'm like people have to find even if it's not your thing, make it your thing.
Facts.
If you're good at Excel on computers, I'm talking to somebody in this room. If you're good at somebody at Excel, if you're good at Excel and doing that stuff, see how you can market that because people don't know that stuff. People don't know how to do that stuff. They don't. How can you market that? How can you put that out there? How can you create a spreadsheet? I don't know how to do that.
Facts.
I don't know how to put make this formula sum and all this stuff. I don't know how to do that.
Exactly.
Provide that out there. People don't know. People don't know that stuff.
That's a fact.
That's extra money in your pocket.
Everybody should, and that's always been my thing. Everybody should just zone in on what they are good at.
Right.
Right. What you're good at, what you're passionate about, and make it something.
Yeah. Yeah.
As minuscule as you think it is. Somebody I heard this from, Gary V.
Yeah.
Taco Bell wasn't always Taco Bell in America. It was some random company from God knows where that had to come in, start that one store that may have had its ups and downs, but now look,
right.
The thing attached to all kind of KFC and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the point. Like, even if you may be the best doubles maker in your family, there's a market for it.
Right.
Taco Bell wasn't always the top thing,
right.
But doubles is in a place where it's, yes, it may be known to a local community or a community that's attached to those locals abroad. But to say it's something like a Taco Bell, not really.
Yeah.
And if you're the best at it, maybe your doubles is the one that becomes Taco Bell.
Right, right.
And that's my point. And as we're speaking about fast food, the perfect thing, I think that could tie into what you're talking about, and they say it's a very important thing when it comes to business, is creating a problem. Sometimes you need to create a problem.
Right.
And then create the solution.
Right.
Did you see this nonsense with Wendy's, bro?
Yes, something about they're doing some surge pricing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all see it, Skip? And Farm, you didn't see it? Wendy's now, apparently, and this is paraphrased, but to my understanding, what Wendy's is doing now, they're starting surge pricing. So you know how on like Uber Eats, if it's a certain time of day, like rush hour, you have to pay the premium delivery charge? Wendy's is doing that in primetime hours. They'll charge more. So like from 5 to 7 o'clock, prime time. Now
Yeah,
their burger is going to be this
yeah.
price.
Wow.
But it's like that to me. That's genius.
Yeah.
Right? Because who was talking about Wendy's before? Who? Let's be real. Yes, they had their fans. I think Maisel was a huge fan.
Yeah.
Big up Maisel. His podcast is coming out soon. But Wendy, who's talking about Wendy's?
I think in the States is big though.
It could be,
but not up here.
It's
definitely not
either way, it's not the McDonald's of the conversation.
True.
It's not the Burger King of the conversation. In that respect, nobody was really checking for Wendy's.
Yeah.
It might have been a cute girl in school, but the hot girl,
Right.
everybody's seeing the hot girl. But what I'm saying is they've created an entire problem that doesn't even exist.
Right.
Has the world talking about it right now.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is do a trial period for like a week.
Yeah.
And end it and say, well, it didn't work.
Right.
But in that period of time, everybody was talking about Wendy's.
Yep.
And that's part of the game.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just a matter of you got to create a problem or identify a problem.
Yeah.
And then develop a solution for it.
True.
Like with what you're talking about with Skippy. What in my mind as a DJ, like stats are important to me.
Yes.
So I developed a thought process to say, okay, I want a spreadsheet that will collect data from all of my mixes on all platforms.
Yeah.
So when it comes to YouTube, I post the mix there.
Right.
YouTube has its own set of views that I'll get.
Right.
Let's just say YouTube's 100,000. SoundCloud 50,000.
Right.
And Apple Podcasts is another 10,000. Skippy's Excel spreadsheet will pull the data remotely from all those websites into one spreadsheet.
Right.
So when I need an update, he just clicks a button and it updates my full mix stats on the spot. So I don't got to go clicking around to each website.
Right.
So that in itself is stats I wanted to know, but how do I make this process easier?
Right.
Went to Skippy. Skippy's like, yeah, I know how to do that.
Right.
He whipped it up. It's still in the process of being tweaked, but it's working.
Right.
So I say all of that to say, like, I created a problem. Skippy was able to fix that with Excel. And now what can be done? There's a million DJs out there.
Right.
They might look at that thought process and say, yo, I kind of like that. Yeah. But I want something like that for myself now. I don't know how to use Excel.
You see Skippy? He's giving free game right now.
If I go
You're welcome.
If I go on my DJ network and say, well, guys, look what I just did. Yep. You want this done?
Yeah.
This is my guy Skippy.
Right.
And my DJ network has 10,000 DJs right now, and it's at its infancy stage.
Right.
These are how these things work.
Yep.
You lean on your friends. You try and see what could be done. Work as a team. How do you package that as a commodity? All right, guys, let's get moving.
Right.
This money's not going to make itself.
Yeah.
That's one thing Farm was real big on when it came to this podcast. Yeah. He loves to see what we're doing, but he's like, guys, be real.
Yeah.
Money, the money's not just going to come here. We got to go
and get it. Right.
And that's a fact because we needed to build on what we're already doing. And that applies to life.
Yeah.
So side hustles, very important. And those were some tidbits surrounding that. Yeah. A big one, and I think you would be the best to talk on it, and then we could probably end it there, would be finances when it comes to being in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So I know even in the stories you just said, there was some conversations that were had, money lost, etc. But when we're talking about somebody who's in a relationship, whether it be boyfriend and girlfriend, because you went through all those stages, boyfriend and girlfriend, married, with kids, what are some good ways that you suggest speaking to your partner about these things?
Sitting down, having a real conversation on what you want the money that we make do for us. Right. Like, for example, if we have goals and aspirations, let's just say in 5 years, what are we doing now to get to those goals?
Right.
Are we saving what we want to save? Are we cutting back? There's certain things, like this year, we actually cut back on a lot of stuff. Fast food, we don't buy fast food that much anymore. Groceries, we pick and choose. Not saying that we're gonna buy junk all the time. You get what I'm saying? Right. We buy the stuff that we need. So it's just sitting down, having a conversation, prioritizing what we want to do to get to that goal that we set. And it all happens with the conversation with your spouse. You may have a different aspect or vision of what your wife wants. So you guys have to sit down, come to an agreement. I was saying, listen, what we gotta do? You want to get here? Let me help you. This is what you want to do? Let me help you.
How do we get these things
Right.
to align?
Right.
Yeah. Dope. And that's it, bro. It's needed because if you're not cohesive in that conversation,
Yeah. That
you're just asking for it at that point. And we know how the divorce rates. And a lot of divorces, a good majority, if I'm not mistaken,
it's financial.
are due to finances.
Yes, absolutely.
So that is a very important thing. But, ladies and gentlemen, as I said earlier, and I'll say it again, we're not professionals. All right. So take of the conversation what you will.
Right.
You're all responsible adults. And I think what we've said here is not, I know what we've said is based off of our experiences.
Yeah.
And anybody with the slightest bit of sense could take good pieces of that and start their journey.
I want to touch on the conversation that we had with Farm the other day too, when he was talking about the emergency fund.
Yeah.
That actually spoke to me, bro, because we did have, me and my wife did have it. Were we active in it? No. But since that conversation, I tell you, I'm active now, man. I'm active now.
It's good to talk to Farm once in a while.
It is.
Good once in a while, you know. Yeah. No,
it's that accountability that we need, bro.
Facts.
You know, as much as he's like, yo,
bro, Farm will come in like that coach that, you know, what are we talking about, guys? This is what it is. Why are we talking? Go and do what you need to do. You need that sometimes.
You need it, bro.
Facts. And that conversation spoke to me as well because you need it.
Yeah.
These things, sometimes you get passive and you're not really thinking sternly, if that's a word.
Right.
But you're not thinking along the lines that you may need to be thinking of.
Yeah.
And
times are rough, bro, and it's only gonna like you said, it's only gonna get bad. Times are rough. You gotta start. You gotta act now.
Yeah, because 5 years ago, who could have told what would have happened in the last 5 years?
Yeah,
times are crazy, and we need to adjust. So, with all that being said, we're gonna try our best to get a financial, somebody in the financial field, somebody who actually practiced and studied this, to come and share their 2 cents on some of the stuff we've talked about today and anything else important finance related.
Yeah.
Because it's that time of year, people.
Yes.
Taxman is coming.
He wants his money.
And he wants it now. But that's all for today, people. It's the Up From Here podcast. And the point of this show is once you hear all the stories, once you hear all the information, and the show ends, it's literally only up from here.
Yes, sir.
And that's the episode today. We'll see you next week. And we out.
Peace.